Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. We're back. And this time, I have the person I said would be here. Hey, Annie. My bad.
Hi. It's all
Annie
good. It's all
Fitzgerald,
good.
already showing a tremendous amount of patience. We're here to talk about one specific thing that we touched on last time. If y'all weren't on Twitch with the Disabled Proletariat, that's Annie's Twitch stream. The Left Past 10 gang went on there, and we ended up talking all about Washington politics, why Annie's running, and one of the things that came up to me is I'm gonna fill up the whole screen here. One of the things that came up to me is incredibly relevant to genuine lefties. One thing that I hear us talking about all the freaking time is it's always tomorrow that the Democrats say for us. It's always tomorrow that change is going to come. We have to just get through this election. Not in Washington, gang. In Washington, change can come right now, and one of the people that can bring it to us, Annie Fitzgerald, as well as the other signers of this letter. There we go. Nope, that's not it. One of the signers of this letter. You see, these names: Melissa Chaudhry, Annie Fitzgerald, Kenneth King, Sid Locke, Richard Miller, Devin Rydell Kelly, Sean Scott, Cameron Severns, and Desiree Chantel Tolliver. They're all candidates who are willing to sign a letter calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. That's what progressives are trying to accomplish. So if you find yourself with a distaste for the Democrats specifically, in the last stream I said it matters, you should go call for Harris. That's something I do personally believe. But I understand if you can't. If you can't do that, what you can do is go in a blue state, put proper progressives in office. That includes this gal right here. That includes every other name on that letter. I am going to put the letter in the chat. There it is. You can have a gander if you want to read it yourself. But the idea, and what I'd like to talk with you, Annie, about is what is it these candidates are hoping to accomplish? They're Washington state level candidates. How is it they're going to contribute to peace in Gaza?
Well, for one thing, we're going to call for and push for an immediate ceasefire, regardless of who ends up being in that, who ends up being in the White House. Hopefully it's Kamala. But because I think that it's been really frustrating. Her foreign takes are absolutely atrocious, but I think obviously there's more of a chance to move her than there is Trump. But at a local level, there's so much we can do. Are you kidding me? one of the things I would like to push for is boycott, divestment, and sanctions at the state level.
Mm.
And
So
there, go ahead.
so give me some examples of what that would look like. Would that be, as you were mentioning in the pre-show a little bit, not sending cops to Israel for training anymore, things like that?
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's a big place that we could start. We do not need to be sending our police to the IDF and Mossad to learn how to be brutal police. Like we really, 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 really need to stop doing that.
Mm,
The the government also has other ties to Israel. It's not just corporations in Washington State. It's not just corporations like Boeing and Microsoft and Amazon that are all in right in my backyard.
mm,
I was, just out at the Boeing picket today. It's about taking, like, putting pressure on these corporations to divest. It's
mm.
about, stop being like sending our police over to Israel to be trained. I mean, quite frankly, I don't know if we're still doing that, but I mean, at this point, I would hope not, considering how dangerous it is over there. Um, and there's other things too, but I actually came across a website not too while back that's actually a Jewish run website that has like a list of all like the companies and like how the government within the state is invested in Israel,
Mm.
and they were actually talking about it as like, see, look what we're doing, like they were proud of it, and I'm like sitting there going through the website and I'm like, wow, this is like awful. This is absolutely awful. Like I had no idea.
And we
So
we have, for the record, uh, lots of, Jewish-run organizations that are on the other side of this thing. Case in
oh
point,
oh
Jewish Voices for
absolutely.
Peace. Yeah, it's just funny to
Absolutely.
see people who are, committed Zionists listing out things as bragging, items, which are in fact
Hmm.
rather damning. Uh,
Oh,
when you're
absolutely.
when we're looking at these candidates, I
Hmm.
just wanna point this out, for the audience, and maybe even for one of the candidates themselves. This is a scenario where any amount of progress we make is better than nothing. It's not
Hmm.
something where if all these people lose, we gain nothing. No, what's going to happen here is, even if everyone on that list loses their race, the people who had to fight them for the seats are going to look at by what degree they lost. Was it a close thing? Et cetera, et cetera. And they are going to know that is the percentage of their constituents who should be their base, but instead decided to vote for somebody else over this issue.
Yes. Hmm.
So the more
And
impact we can make, the better it's going to be.
hmm hmm and
On that note, do you? Oh, go ahead. No,
yeah,
please.
I was just gonna say, and I know even in my own race that my incumbent has now kind of, the last time he talked about policies in an interview, he's kind of shifted more towards the left because, which is interesting.
That's where he's
I
getting the
don't
heat.
believe him. I don't
Of course
believe
not.
him, but it's very interesting that he's now like shifting towards the left
Yeah.
and LARPing as a progressive.
Because who's he running against? He's got to run against Annie. That's the issue for this dude.
Hmm.
So, in my mind, it's like when you're at a job and they say they'll give you a raise if you hit a certain goal, and you hit that goal and they say, "Yeah, but we're not going to do the raise." And you go out and you find another job and they hire you, and you come back and you put in your 2 weeks, and they say, Wait a minute. We'll give you the raise. We'll give you the raise. At that point, the job you are in has demonstrated to you that they cannot be trusted, that they don't have your best interests in mind, that you're going to have to twist their arm to get them to behave honorably, decently.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with these politicians. This guy said he was a progressive. This guy said he wanted peace in the Middle East. Then he didn't behave that way. Then he
Mm-hmm.
went out and it was wishy-washy. And now that you're his competition, now that you got past the post and he's got to run against you, suddenly, oh, he's Mr. Left. Suddenly, oh, well, isn't he going to be great for progressives? But we know that's not so. We know he's only
Yeah.
paying lip service to these ideals. He doesn't hold them himself.
And
So how can
it
people?
was
Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and it's even funny that in the email where he turned down my request for a town hall, he said something to the effect of, uh, well, let's meet up after the election, regardless of what happens. Let's meet up so that we can talk. And I'm like, there is nothing to talk to you about because I
Well,
know you're not gonna listen to me anyways. So
I'd
like
take it anyway. I'm not
I
there.
probably will, but I don't expect him to listen.
Yeah. But the fact that he's sitting there saying like he's trying to throw in the towel here. He's trying to be like, oh, go easy on me, Annie. That's a good sign. And the other thing I would toss out there, if people want to make your campaign or any of these folks' campaign have more of an impact, and let's say they're out of state, what can they do to help? Can they donate to you? Can they make calls
Oh
for you?
yeah. Yeah,
All right.
donations are always welcome. We are really trying to um like get some donations coming in so we can do some last minute ads. Because we haven't been
Absolutely.
able to do any ads up to this point, and that would be super helpful. Um, let me yeah. Let me pull the link real quick and
Yeah,
I'll put it in the chat. Um,
absolutely.
but but yeah, like I think it's really important that um you know that we have politicians um you know on this list and in this letter that are willing to speak up for Palestine and um, and say, hey, this is what we're gonna do. If we are elected, these are the things we're gonna fight for. We will fight for a ceasefire. We will fight for BDS. We will fight for these things because we believe that this is wrong. And um, so we all took a risk putting our name to this letter. Like
Yeah.
we all took a risk because you know and I have taken some criticism from certain uh MAGA individuals,
Yep.
um primarily for signing this letter and for releasing it. um but I trust every single person on that list will follow through. And Devin Rydell Kelly, he's the one that put this list together. Um, and I'm really hoping that, it, at a minimum, the majority of us on that list can get our seats. Um,
I hope
so,
so.
mhm,
And look, I just put the link in the description. If consider this, every couple of $100 Annie hits is going to be another commercial that puts the word out that to voters that there is somebody out there who is trying to achieve peace, who is not simply signing checks for the military industrial complex to go kill more people for profit. This this
mhm.
this is change we can do right now. We don't have to wait for the next election cycle. We don't need to watch 2 years of babies getting blown up. by a madman that we're funding. We can make this effect now. So
Mhm.
consider donating to Annie's campaign. If you were going to toss $5 to your old pal Jake, it's better to go there right now. The other thing I would say, if you live in Washington, please write your local news team. Email them and say, "Hey, I want to know why the other candidates didn't sign this letter. What about this do they disagree with specifically?" There's a
Mhm.
14-page long list of dead children out of this conflict. There's no such thing as a Hamas baby. So
Nope.
we got to know what exactly it is that the people who refuse to sign have against the content of this letter.
Oh, I can answer some of that.
Hit me.
Um, some of them, or a lot of them, take money from businesses that benefit from this war, like Boeing, like Microsoft, like Amazon. So I honestly, I think that's why my incumbent hasn't said anything.
Oh yeah.
And I believe that that's why a lot of politicians, in Democrats included, within, especially the Democrats within Washington State, um, we there was a convention back in June. There were amendments that passed at the convention calling for a ceasefire, but nothing has come from that.
Mm.
Nothing. So it's like, okay, we support a ceasefire. And this is Washington Democrats. Okay. We support a ceasefire, but we're not actually going to do anything about it. So the people on this letter are people that are actually committing to do something about it. We're
Mm.
not just going to, we're not just signing this letter to sign this letter to signal our support. We are saying that we will actually do something if we are elected, and we will, um, we will challenge the Democratic Party within Washington State.
Mm.
Um, because again, like I said, they voted and these amendments passed in June, but nothing has come of it. I have not seen the Washington Democratic Party say anything regarding pro-Palestine. And I follow their Twitter accounts. I follow their accounts. I pay attention to what they're doing and what they're saying. And it's all been towing the party line. Um, and it's just incredibly disappointing. Um,
I want to walk the audience through a hypothetical in that case, because I gave the worst case scenario. In the worst case scenario, none of you make it to office, but you make a big splash still, and you affect
mhm.
policy. That is, at the end of the day, the purpose of this. But here's the best case scenario, which is entirely possible. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine representatives in Washington make it into office. And in one state, we get a new squad. In one state, we get a new future for progressives. We are talking about how it is sort of inevitable that the Democratic Party is going to split because, frankly, they're not a left political party. They're just not. They
No.
don't represent the left, and that's who they claim to represent. Which means if they're going to continue existing, the left will go somewhere eventually. We need people with experience to lead that movement. That's got to start exactly like this. It's going to start at state level positions. It's going to start with people that have sincere beliefs who are able to take risks because they do not yet, already have their entire careers wrapped up in politics. They can take risks by expressing those beliefs. Frankly, it shouldn't be a risk. That should be why you're there, but it is what it is now.
Oh, and
You got
I will fully back, I will fully buck the party if they
absolutely.
don't support this. Like I
'Cause
am I
the
am
party
not
shouldn't
just
dictate.
gonna go with the party line.
Yeah. And we are there by convenience, essentially. We
Hmm.
need the leaders of tomorrow to show themselves today. We can create them. Help those candidates in any way you can, including Annie Fitzgerald. Again, the link to donate to her is in the description. Uh,
And can I give you some good news?
yes, you can.
So there are other candidates, other progressive candidates that uh, have not signed on this letter that would support all the things in this letter. So
Let's
it's not
contact
just us. Um, it's not
if
just us in the letter. There's
if
more.
if
There's
you
more.
send me in Discord a list of people that you think would sign the letter, that's what I'm gonna spend my weekend doing. I'm gonna spend my weekend contacting their campaigns, trying to get them to sign the letter, and having, the Wicked community help me out if they're down for it. I think that's a valuable use of our time, and
Hmm.
I think
Well, I do think, some of them are. I do know at least one candidate that's running in a more conservative district. So he's kind of like has to be very careful.
doesn't hurt us to
But
ask, though.
yeah, oh, of course not. Of course not. Of course not. Um, but yeah, I do believe that there are more candidates out there that would certainly support everything in this letter. Um,
Absolutely.
and so yeah, definitely.
Would I realize this is a, Washington-based letter, but would a version of this letter for nah, you know what? Let's stick to Washington because Washington has a good setup. I was gonna say, would a version of it, be good as part of a movement? Fuck, let's stick to Washington. Um, we got the first squad out of New York and the Midwest, I feel like. The second, I'm hoping, is a West Coast Avengers situation. My friend,
Yes.
thank you for running. Thank you for running well. Apparently, God damn, you're in this thing, and
Yes.
I hope we're talking to Representative Fitzgerald in a couple weeks' time.
I hope so.
Wait a minute,
But
I'm
even if
calling dibs.
even
If you
okay,
get elected, your ass has got to come on Left Past 10. We got to do a victory stream.
I'm
Are you
coming
kidding
back
me?
on. I will come back on Left Past 10 regardless.
Yeah, but it might be a different deal if you're suddenly Ms. Big Shot with your with your
That's
look. I'm
true.
just saying. I want to get in early and say for sure you got it. Okay.
Okay. And
Thank you for
and
coming
even
by.
if yeah, and even if I don't win this time around, guess
Yeah,
what? I'll run next time. So
cool. That's how
it's
we
all
do it.
good.
How we're gonna win.
Yep.
I, my friend, thank you for stopping by. We're gonna make it a short stream. I'll
All
see you
right.
around.
Okay. Bye.
Go get him. That was Annie Fitzgerald. She's running for state representative in Washington. I believe Washington's 38th district. And she is an absolute peach of a human being. I love her. There right now is a letter that representatives who are running for office, or rather candidates who are running to be representatives in Washington, have signed. Annie was, in my opinion, foremost amongst them. That letter says that they do not support the genocide in Gaza. That letter is the sort of sentiment that should be held by every single elected representative in the United States. Help make that the case. In the description, there's a link to donate to Annie Fitzgerald's campaign. Whether or not she wins, the amount of progress she makes is going to affect how the winner, whether it's her or somebody else, behaves in office. Get her there. Get ads on the TV. Get social media ads. Get regular folks questioning why there is a 14-page long list of dead children. of their blood on Netanyahu's hands and ours. We don't have to wait for next election cycle. Right now, we can make a change. We have to make it so that when the person who gets that office wants to find out what they should do, they got to go ask Annie. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name is Jake. That was Annie Fitzgerald. And this is Donald James X.